I'm Carla Gonzalez, Director of Undergraduate Admissions at the College for Creative Studies. I am talking about how to prepare yourself, or your student for college applications, particularly if they're hoping or planning to study art or design. So there are a few specific things that it's good that you're researching now, because come September and the fall, you will want to be ready to apply. And when a college like CCS needs an application portfolio, it's good to know so that you can work on it, especially during the summer, so that you're not so overly stressed with schoolwork and preparing that portfolio during the school year. So planning ahead, I'll cover a little bit about classes, what to take and when to take them, identifying what you like to do, research and asking questions about both the application process and the majors or programs that you may be interested in. Talking a little bit about documenting your work and your experiences, because colleges will often want to know or like to know the nuances behind some of the work that you make, and then getting ready to apply. So if anybody's joining us who is a rising senior, this is perfect timing. If you're a rising junior, that's awesome too. You're going to get a leg up and a step ahead. So classes to take and when to take them. I think one of the things that we sometimes have to make sure that high school counselors understand is that when you are planning to apply to a college that requires an art or design portfolio, you do need the time to make that, and you do need the classes to help you build the skill sets that you want to present to the college. So you don't want to wait until your last year to take art class. Some counselors will advise students to hold off and complete all of their regular high school requirements before taking their art classes. So it's really important that you communicate with your guidance counselor so that they understand that you may need to take a slightly different path than they may typically advise other students. And once they understand that, it usually is much easier to get what you need at the time, in the time frame that you need it. So starting your freshman year of high school, we encourage you to start taking those art classes. And hopefully, if you have the classes available to you, you'd be able to take one or two or three. Some students in schools, depending on how, what kind of courses they offer, some students take multiple. But we understand that, as CCS understands that, because we know every district is different. Every school is going to offer different classes and different number of classes. So we just encourage you to try and take as many as you can that make sense. Certainly not to put you behind in your other academic studies, but certainly to take them as early as possible. So really, we encourage you to take what's available to you, to communicate with your counselors. And then we do encourage you to look outside of your school if maybe they don't have enough options, or there are limitations about the number of courses you can take. I know a lot of students also do things like play in the marching band, or study a language. And sometimes they have to choose between art and language, or art and band. And so we do realize that, and we do encourage you to take a look at non-credit courses that may be available to you, for example, at a community center near you, or CCS non-credit programs. So you may not be near CCS, but there may be programs near you. We also offer some online courses that are non-credit, so you could do that. There are lots of options out there, so I encourage you to take a look around and find some. Another great option is summer programs. So colleges like CCS around the country will offer summer programs to high school students. They often will come with 3 college credits, but really the primary benefit of participating in a summer program is to get a sense of what it's like to actually go to college for art and design. Your schedule will often mimic or replicate what it would be like to go to art and design school. Our studios are longer than your normal class length. So when you go, like for example, if you come to CCS and you take a drawing class, you're meeting for 6 hours a week in that drawing studio for that class. It's not like your English class where you might have a 50-minute period twice a week. The studio courses require more contact hours. And so a summer program helps you get that experience and see if that's something that you like, and helps you kind of get acclimated to that. So as I mentioned, the college programs will often carry credit, but they're also excellent ways for you to produce work to use in your portfolio, to meet other people like you who are interested in art and design, to gain those different perspectives and ideas about how you might foresee your future, or, just sort of open your mind up to what that might be like. And then also dual enrollment options are really great if you're interested in doing college level coursework during the school year. So dual enrollment options are typically available at institutions of higher education. So CCS offers dual enrollment both online and in person. And a school district will pay a portion of the tuition to enroll in a dual enrollment course. And then sometimes families have to pay a portion of that tuition as well. CCS actually reduces the tuition dramatically for high school students wanting to do dual enrollment. So for example, instead of paying full tuition for a 3-credit class, you families pay somewhere between $200 and $300 per class, which is like a 95% discount. So part of that is because the district will pay a portion, and then we have a reduced tuition. District will pay a portion, and the family pays a portion. So it's a nice way to actually earn credit related to the program that you may study once you become a college student. And that credit can be taken to any college that accepts accredited college credit. So accredited simply means that it's been, that the institution has accreditation from the Higher Learning Commission or and Department of Education, et cetera. So for example, if you were to do a dual enrollment class at, I'll just give you an example of a local community college. So Macomb Community College, if you were to complete coursework there and get a grade of C or better, you could submit that transcript to CCS, and we would consider offering you the transfer credit for that course. And that means you have 3 credits fewer to complete at CCS if you did 1 class at Macomb, for example. Oops. Okay. So we encourage you to think about what it is you like to do. It's funny, students will sometimes just simply say, oh, I have experience in this, or I've taken a drawing class, or I've taken a graphic design class, but they don't always take the time to think about what it is they actually like to do in terms of making or creating things. So a few questions we like to ask you to ask yourself is, do you prefer computer-based or hand-based work? Do you like to work in 2D or 3D? Are you conceptual? Are you an idea person? Or are you a maker and you make things and create solutions with your hands? What kind of problem solver are you? Are you the kind of person that likes to just sort of throw a bunch of things together and start working it out? Or are you a planner, right? And you like to draw things out and have a strategy and idea, and you say, okay, now I'm going to proceed with making that thing that I have in mind. And then what kinds of projects do you enjoy and do you excel at, right? So do you enjoy the printmaking class, or do you prefer the jewelry making class? Those kinds of questions and answers can really help guide you towards a major that might be a really good fit for you. And so we do encourage you to look into the different programs that the different schools you're considering offer, and then think about the types of ways that those students are making work. looking at student work for all of those programs is going to be a really informative way for you to get a sense of what the students are doing in their classes, what they're doing, in terms of idea generation, what they're doing in terms of, working, are they mixing media and integrating their work with multiple different disciplines or materials? Are they using technologies that you don't see other programs using? All those kinds of questions are good for you to, or not questions, but evidence is good for you to see so that you can then find or figure out where you may fit and where your interests lie among those things. So another good thing for you to do research on is what kinds of facilities, studios, equipment, and how much access students have to those facilities, studios, and equipment, because those are the tools that are going to be available to you to make whatever it is that you have in mind to make. CCS invests a lot in our facilities and studios. We want to make sure that we have current technologies, new equipment, functional equipment, accessible equipment for all of our students. And so, and I know that the past 2 years have been very difficult for campus visits. So I understand that. But as campuses are open, I would encourage you to tour a campus, maybe not just once, but a couple of times, if you can. I would encourage you to actually visit early. I know some families wait until they get admission decisions before they start visiting colleges. And I always find that that's a little tough because there's not a whole lot of time sometimes to get all of that travel in. So I just encourage you, if you have an opportunity to visit a campus, maybe go for a weekday tour or a simple, small group tour, and then maybe go to an open house event in addition to that, or go on the virtual tour where you can kind of go at your own pace or, get a sense first of what that campus is like, and then go on an in-person tour. I think going in person is really adds so much flavor to the experience that I do highly encourage you to consider doing that. And if you're not sure to ask, I do have some suggestions on the next page here, but I am going to encourage you to write down the URL at the bottom of the screen here. There's a ton of information about CCS and a bunch of admissions info. So you can go to tinyurl.com/CCS admissions info. And there's a really useful set of information there if you want to take a look. So these are all really great questions to ask of faculty when you meet them. So hopefully in one of your visits to a campus or a virtual visit, for example, you may get an opportunity to meet faculty. This is a really nice opportunity for you to understand more deeply how that faculty member or department chair envisions their program and leads their program. So these are great questions in case you don't have any to ask. What kinds of projects do your students like or dislike? How many students get internships or participate in sponsored studios within your department? You can ask that per semester, per year. Tell me about a project solution that one of your students came up with that really wowed you. It's really awesome to hear about what faculty get surprised by, right? So faculty teach students years after year after year, and I can tell you that there are always new ideas coming forward. And so it's fun to ask them, like, what's the coolest thing one of your students came up with in the last 2 years or something like that? And I'm sure they will have an answer for you. And that also, again, is a really good way to learn a little bit more about what students are making and creating in the program. And then one other really good question that you could write down is, what kinds of things do you wish students like me would ask, right? So I think that sometimes we might leave an event and just be like, oh, I wish they would have asked me about this, or, we touched on that, but nobody really seemed to be all that interested. So I wish they'd asked, and then I could have spoken about XYZ, right? So all of these are good questions that can start conversations among you and faculty. So one of the things that you should be doing over the next few months or years as you're preparing to apply to a College of Art and Design is to document your work and your experiences. So the QR code in the top right-hand corner has it's a set of suggestions and tips and tricks for developing a standout portfolio. So I encourage you to use that QR code and keep that available to you over the coming months. But you want to photograph the work that you make. If you do digital work, you want to save your files. You should name them. You should save them in a place and you should back them up. You should write down the ideas and the concepts you incorporated into your work, like mini statements. They don't have to be formally written. They don't have to be full sentences. They can just be basic ideas and concepts that you used to generate your work. Include a title if you were inspired by something specific. Doesn't mean everything has to have a title, but sometimes titles can really add some nuance and context to a work. And if you feel that that is appropriate, I encourage you to do that. Photographing your work, don't wait until, the night before the application is due to photograph your work. You should be photographing it as you're creating it and as you're finishing it. So many schools will like to see one or two of your portfolio submissions with progress work or process work. So if you started with a photograph that you used for reference, but then you had some drawing elements that you added in, and then you had another photograph you used for the reference for the sky, and then you put it all together to make it your own. It'd be really nice for us to see the process steps that you utilized in order to get to the final. So photographing all of those steps and pieces and including them for a couple of your submissions is really nice way for us to see how your brain works, how you think through a problem, and how you solve problems. Like I said, you want to save your files, you want to back up your files. Gosh, unfortunately, with things like forest fires or, hurricanes, all these very strange, difficult weather events we've experienced, we have had students who have let us know that they've lost their portfolio, they don't have their files, and it's so heartbreaking. So I encourage you to do what you can to make sure you have copies of your work, save them to the cloud. Google Drive is awesome if you have access to that to back up your work, but then also maybe on a flash drive or hard drive. So getting ready to apply, it's going to be important for you to make sure you're doing your research to understand the deadlines for each application that you're planning to complete. You need to research the portfolio requirements by school because each school could have very different requirements for the portfolio. CCSs are fairly straightforward, but some schools have assignments you need to complete. Others have a larger quantity of work you're required to submit. So for example, some schools require 20 pieces. CCS requires 8 to 12 pieces. Each school is going to be different and you need to know that ahead of time so you're not caught off guard and unprepared to apply. You want to think ahead, plan ahead, and make work that may be missing. So let's say you have 7 solid pieces. You need to make that 8th, right? So make sure that you know ahead, like now, what you need, because you want to have the time to make a solid piece. And you don't want to be stressed out or freaked out that you don't have enough work to complete the application requirements at the deadline. You can also think about revising or finishing work that you have already started. So think about any pieces that maybe you liked, but then sort of went in a wrong direction, or you just kind of got frustrated with and stopped. You could always pull those pieces back out and kind of have another try at them. Sometimes space and time will give you that that opportunity to sort of rethink how you might accomplish or finish a piece. And so that's a nice way to, rather than starting from scratch, is to maybe pick up on something and continue to develop it. I think that's a really normal part of a creative process, is needing that space and time to think through decisions that you'd already made, and then figuring out if you want to follow that path or redirect. So I encourage you to think about that as an opportunity to create and to finish work for your portfolio. The other thing I want to encourage you to do is to connect with and communicate with an admissions counselor at the school that you are planning to apply to. I have to tell you, it's so sad when I hear or feel that people are scared to talk to us or nervous to talk to us. I can tell you right now, we are all very nice people. We're all normal people. We have a lot of experience looking at student work. We're here to help you, to support you, to give you constructive feedback, and we're not here to judge you. We're here to support your effort to put your best foot forward. So we can give you feedback on your work, even as you're progressing through making your work, even if you haven't applied yet. At CCS, we're happy to give you feedback on your work. All you need to do is ask. We can also help you learn more, or help give you reference or links to help you dive into the different majors a little bit more deeply. If you have interest in a few or multiple, we can give you additional details. We can give you links to news articles. We can give you labor statistics, right? We can give you titles of jobs that our alumni are working in when they graduated from the different majors you're looking at. So your admissions counselor is a definite resource. Please don't be shy. And when we reach out, we're just reaching out to figure out how we can help. We are not here to pressure you to do anything or to make commitments or anything like that. Honestly, we're just reaching out to support you. We also, our admissions counselors can help connect you to faculty and staff on campus who may be able to answer questions that we can't answer. So if you have a particular question for a faculty member, or about financial aid, or about how course scheduling works, right? Like any of those questions, a lot of them we can answer, but we can also connect you with somebody to answer the questions that we cannot. And we are happy to do that at any point. So we want you to research your majors. If you would like to research CCS's majors, I encourage you to watch our YouTube videos. This is a link to a playlist called Major Insights. These are individual virtual sessions we hosted and recorded, one for each of our undergraduate majors. And it's our faculty talking about the programs that they lead. And these are really nice ways for you to kind of, on your own time, hear the faculty talking about their programs in their own words, and then also hearing some of the questions and answers that students put forward. So just for a quick review, CCS has 13 different undergraduate programs. They include advertising design, art practice, also known as fine art, communication design, also known as graphic design, motion design, and interaction design, craft and material studies, which includes our ceramics, glass, metalsmithing and jewelry, and fiber and textile programs. Our entertainment arts program contains the animation, concept design, and game majors. Fashion design is both apparel and accessories. Our film program has students working both in documentary, experimental, mostly live action work. Illustration, we have several tracks of focus within illustration, including visual development. That's typically for people who are interested in designing characters for animation. We also have editorial illustration, fashion illustration, and a few others. Our newest program is the Interdisciplinary Art and Design program, which is essentially allowing students to develop their own pathway through their degree requirements with a mentor, a faculty mentor, who will ensure that your choices will lead to expertise in a couple of areas while also allowing you flexibility to choose and create your own path to your degree. Our interior design program has students working to design both retail, commercial, medical, corporate, and entertainment spaces. So hotels, casinos, yoga studios, stores, homes, corporate offices, and also exhibit design. Photography, our students are working in lots of different arenas, including commercial photography, fashion photography, documentary photography, and more. Product design is also known as industrial design. And at CCS, we have a really wide range of projects our students work on, but we do have a specialty in athletic shoe design. But we also have students working on designing things like bikes and outdoor gear, sports equipment, home appliances. It really is a very wide array of things. And then transportation design at CCS is one of those things we are known for around the world, teaching how to design things that move, including automobiles, trucks, large farm equipment, yachts, airplanes, motorcycles, you name it. We also have an art education dual program. This program is designed to work alongside a major. So if you wanted to earn your certification to teach in kindergarten through 12th grade classroom, you could add the art education dual program to your studies, and that would it would extend your studies to 4.5 years because you have to do a 1 semester practicum teaching in a middle school and high school classroom. But you would be prepared to take the teacher certification test in Michigan, which is then reciprocal among 48 other states. And so you could teach in a K-12 classroom, as well as earning your degree in whichever other major you desire. Just some photos of our studios and shops at CCS, including computer labs, our Ford campus up in the right-hand corner there. And then here's a slide to just sort of help you understand how the application process works for CCS. And I'll tell you a little bit about how it differs from other college applications. So one big difference is that CCS's application is not on the Common App. There are schools who use the Common App for their application, and there are some who don't. So you do need to consider that and keep that in mind so that when you are going through your application process, you recognize that, oh, I can do these on the Common App, and then I can do these, you know, and actually the nice thing about colleges that aren't on the Common App, they're often a little bit more, you know, we can do a little bit more hand holding. You can call it, ask your counselor, like, hey, did you get this? Are we okay? Like, did that come through? You know, we can give you a little bit more like very up-to-date information on where you are in the process. So for example, CCS, our application is free and it is online. It's a form that you have to fill out. The application form itself takes maybe 10 minutes max to finish. And we're asking like name, address, phone number, birth date, you know, where you went to high school, whether you have college credit and all that kind of stuff. And then separately, you would submit your transcript. So whether you're a high school student or if you are a college transfer student, we would want your college transcript, but high school students, we just want your high school transcript. Now, the caveat is if you've been in a dual enrollment program or you're in an early college or middle college program, we will need a college level transcript from the school that is offering your college level coursework in order to give you credit. So just keep that in mind. We don't need it for the application or the admission decision, but we will need it to place credit. And then we need you to show us your work. So we need 8 to 12 pieces. Many schools use a platform called SlideRoom for submitting your portfolio. We do as well. You would go to ccs.slideroom.com. And when you go there, it will say, are you applying for the undergraduate program for fall 2023, for example? And you would say yes, and click it, and then you can upload your work there. It is free for students to create an account on SlideRoom. However, most schools, there's a fee to upload your work to the college as your submission. So keep that in mind. Our upload fee to SlideRoom, meaning you're paying them, you're not paying us, is $10. Some schools, it's more than that, but that's the only fee associated with the CCS application. And then if you are an international school student, whose first language is not English, we would need proof of your English proficiency through either a TOEFL, IELTS, or actually we are now taking a Duolingo score as well. So here's just an idea of how deadlines work. I know that there are quite a number of schools that have an early action or early decision deadline. CCS's early action deadline is December 1st. So one point to clarify is that early decision is a binding application. So what that means is if you're applying early decision, you have an early deadline. Some schools it's as early as November 1st, some it's November 15th, some is December 1st. But if you apply early decision, that means that if you are admitted that you have already agreed that you will withdraw your applications from all other schools and you will commit to that school. So you should decide if that's the way you want to go or not. Other options include the early action. Early action is non-binding. So many schools will have both. Some won't have early decision, some will just have early action like CCS. And that just means if you want to be considered for our highest tuition scholarships and early registration, that we encourage you to apply by December 1st. It is non-binding. And then if you don't apply by December 1st, totally fine. We have a priority deadline of February 1st, and we still have very generous scholarships available for students who apply by the February 1st deadline. After February 1 at CCS, applications will be considered on a rolling basis based on space available in the program you are applying to. So, and then like all other schools around the country, the deposit deadline is May 1st, which is National College Decision Day. And so schools are looking for students to make their final choice by May 1st. You'll notice that we're coming up close to that for this coming fall 22. So if you're interested in, if you may be considering applying for fall 22, I would really like to know that now so we can support you and get you a decision as soon as possible. But we can get to that at the Q&A. All right, so another QR code here for you to start your research about CCS. And I do encourage you to do all your other research at the other schools as well. I am going to stop recording.